June 8th, 2020 general government meeting. First up, we need approval of the agenda if it meets your expectations.
So moved.
Have motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Thank you, board. Motion to approve the agenda has been approved. Public comment. We're very thin on public here. Okay. No public comment today. Need approval of the minutes from May 11th, 2020. A motion
So
and support
moved.
is needed.
So.
Any corrections, deletions, or additions? Passed as in. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. Next up, 4B, our quarterly treasurer's report. Welcome, Karen.
Good morning on this wonderful sunny day. We'll take it.
We will take it.
All right, so I'll cue this report up here. You've had a couple, I think a week and a half to review this quite lengthy report. I gave you a lot of information and would certainly welcome dialogue or questions on anything that I provided in the packet that I sent to you. I'll just kind of highlight the bullet points, and if there's questions as we go through, we can address those. So first and foremost, the monthly investment reports, they've been submitted. You have them in your packet. The most recent month end finished was April of 2020. Had lots of activity happening. You know, our environment and our world is looks a lot different than it did back in March at my last report. So, and indicative of that, we had a lot of market movement with regard to our investment portfolio. So we've had some volatility. We've had lots of positions that were called from the portfolio. I don't look at that as a negative. In fact, it puts us in a very good position. It keeps us where we've got money liquid, not tied up. And so we have the ability to be flexible and nimble if we need to. So while we may not have the investment interest coming through, but I think with these times that we are going through right now, it's a positive to have that liquidity available for us. So I wanted to at least talk about that because a lot of activity happened in March and April with regard to the portfolio. The next item is the annual report, balance of the land sale proceeds account. This is a report that's required for me to present to the Board of Commissioners every June. You can see the statute there citing that. This report, although it may be hard to read, basically what it says is it's a cash basis analysis report of all of the foreclosure activity. You can see there's the history there since we started from 2002 all the way to 2019. This shows you the activity of foreclosure and monies available that have funneled through the Delinquent Tax Revolving Fund. What we're seeing here for this year's report is that there are no dollars that are available for transfer to the Board of Commissioners through this account, because the only thing we're holding in this account right now is the land inventory. So unless there's questions with regard to that, we'll move on to the next item. As a result of the ongoing pandemic that started in March, our normal statutory tax foreclosure deadline of March 31st was moved several times by executive orders from our governor. The most recent executive order, Order 2020-106, has now firmly stated the new tax foreclosure deadline for the last day to pay for 2017 taxes and prior year's taxes is now Monday, June 29th, 2020 by 5 p.m. So we have not foreclosed on our tax delinquencies as of yet. And normally when I would come to you in June, I'd be able to give you an update as to what the status of the tax foreclosures are, but since we have not foreclosed, we're still waiting for those taxes to get paid, and when June 29th comes, then I'll be able to provide information on what that foreclosure cycle ended up looking like. Yes, Commissioner Duckham.
Thank you, Karen. Do you have, does this make a lot of extra work for you? Do you have to go start adding the additional months on
Yes.
after, I mean, if,
Yes, so we're tracking 2 different cycles now. It's been quite interesting, but we're managing it. It is what it is. We've got to honor what the executive orders from the governor states, but yes, it's put a strain on us because we're starting a new cycle. The taxes that came over for 2018 that we're also trying to track and do title search work on, and eventually next month we'll be out on the road and doing our postings, which are required. So yeah, it's added additional work, but we're getting by.
how will it affect your next year's work, which will only be 9 months, right?
We're still doing the work for both, so we're actually got 2 cycles going, as I said, so it's not that we've stopped working, we're doing both.
When you have adequate personnel to do that?
Yes, as of right now.
Okay.
My staff has been wonderful through all of this, so many kudos go to them, and it's been very interesting to watch this all progress, and, deadlines are deadlines, and when you have that moving target, it makes it difficult to plan and to appropriate staff and resources towards it, but we've managed.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking. The next bullet point I did mention at last Tuesday, when I came before you at study session. Good news. The Step Forward Michigan program that the state of Michigan has rolled out since 2010 is still it's still active, still has funding available, and we have received good news that they are now extending this program until June 30th, 2021. It was originally scheduled to sunset December of this year, but I think that because of the pandemic and what our citizens are experiencing, they've realized at the state that this is a necessary program, and if they've got funding available, that they need to keep it available for those tax-paying citizens that might apply and meet the requirements to get the funding. So that's good news. There's information there. Now, they've closed their online portal at the Michigan website, but here's information on how to call, and you have to fill out a paper application now, which is a little more cumbersome, but I will tell you that if you have any citizens inquiring about the program and whether or not they qualify, have them reach out either to our office and/or Community Action Agency. We've been partnering with them all along. They do have staff and resources available to work with people to get those applications filled out properly, have the necessary paperwork, and sent to the state, and hopefully they receive those funds. So that's a great resource to know that we still have that available. Some other items that we've experienced in our office since from March, we've increased our access for payment options for the citizens. In April, we rolled out a couple of other options, payment options, one being the interactive voice response technology, which allows citizens to pay by phone using a toll-free 800 number. There is a 3% convenience fee with regard to that, but that is standard for convenience fees for the credit card companies. That is not a fee that the county treasurer's office charges. That is standard convenience fee for the use of a credit card. We also began accepting e-check payments. That is another form of payment where a tax-paying citizen can choose that option, and they put in their bank account information, and the money is withdrawn directly from their account, and that is a $3 flat fee up to $10,000. So we are seeing citizens utilizing that form of payment option as well. Other efficiencies we've noticed, we decided to go live with our data in BSNA in May, and that has opened up a lot of efficiencies on our ends as far as processing and posting credit card payments. So we were a little reluctant to make the change. We weren't sure how it was going to impact our workflow, but it ended up enhancing it and making it much more efficient. So we were pleased to offer that. Other items, we're currently working with the City and Community Action Agency for the 2017 taxes in years prior, utilizing the CARES Act monies that became available as a result of the pandemic. Specifically, we've identified over 40 properties that we believe are principal residence exemption in the city to utilize CDBG monies through the city to help prevent foreclosure. I know that the city has approved those dollars or allocation of dollars for that, and we are just now waiting for the disbursement of funds to our office to help assist, hopefully, some taxpayers and prevent foreclosure within the city. Along the same lines, we're working with Community Action Agency. They also received funding from this CARES Act monies, and we're looking and targeting properties throughout the rest of the county that would be the townships and the villages, principal residence exemptions only, that are in danger of foreclosure. We've targeted about 40 to 55 properties that could be eligible for rescue. So they are on our radar. We're working hand in hand with them, and hopefully dollars will be allocated to help prevent foreclosure for some properties out county as well. Lastly, the big item that I wanted to talk about and introduce, I think I've sent this via email prior to, but there was new legislation that was passed early March. It's called Public Act 33 of 2020, or PAYS, or Pay As You Stay. It's new legislation, and basically what this law would allow is, in partnership and collaboration with the local units of government, because they have to sign off on whether they wish to participate in this legislation or not. It would impact those that have a principal residence exemption, so owner-occupied, owner-owned. And if they qualify for a hardship exemption at the local unit of government, then they could qualify for a reduction of delinquent penalties and interest here at the county treasurer's office. So we have begun the notification process. We have begun the education process with regard to that. We've not sent out our formal letters to the local units yet saying, here's your date form, we want to know whether or not you wish to participate. We're kind of holding off until things are somewhat back to normal, where the townships and cities are meeting on a regular basis, because this has to go before their boards for board approval. So probably within the next week or so, we'll look to get those letters out to the local units to get their input with regard to whether or not they wish to participate in that program.
And if they don't?
And if they don't, then they don't. They're not obligated, but they need to make that choice at the local level as to whether or not they wish to participate.
So what would happen to you, you administer the program that comes through you?
Yes, that's correct.
What happens if only half of them want to participate?
We only work with those that wish to participate, yep. And
it doesn't ruin the concept, or it falls apart because we don't have...
It's not an all or none.
Okay.
Correct, yeah. So they get to make they get the control and get to make the decision at the local level, if they wish to participate, which is a nice feature, but it'll be tough if it impacts those taxpayers in those local units that choose not to participate. So.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all. So the last point that I just wanted to make and share with you today is, finally, after 2 years in the works, we have moved from the second floor to the first floor, our old home, and we're in our new home. And we've been open for business to the public since May 11th, and we couldn't have made that a reality without the facilities team and our IT team making that happen. So we're extremely grateful. The office space is wonderful. I welcome you to come down and check it out. And it seems to be working very well, especially with our current environment. Taxpayers are able to come into a somewhat more private area to conduct business, and everything is good.
Board, questions?
Any questions?
Commissioner Kennedy?
Hello.
Hello.
Just one quick question. You mentioned enhanced payment options now online and the 3% fee. I was under the impression that we had moved to that G2G system. Are we not using that for this, or?
Countywide, we are, yes. For the county treasurer's office, we're not.
Okay,
And that is because the G2G, it does not interface with BSNA, which is our tax program software.
good enough, thanks.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Madam Treasurer, for your presentation. All of us have seen, and if we have a 401k plan, have seen some pretty significant volatility over the past few months. It seems to me, though, that your investment philosophies are pretty conservative and would not result in such volatility. Would that be correct to say?
That is correct, yes. Very, very conservative. I have a great appreciation for the fact that this is county dollars, county monies that we're investing. So it's all about safety, safety, safety.
I just wanted to give you a chance to say that.
Yes,
'cause
absolutely.
I knew that was the case. Thank you. With respect to foreclosures that are coming up here in June, you and your folks and Community Action Agency are working with landowners to try and avoid foreclosure. Have you suggestions that commissioners, is there anything we can do to help you or to stay out of your way as you do that sort of work? I'm just looking to see what suggestions you might have for us.
Thank you for the opportunity to address that. I welcome commissioners to work hand in hand with me, never in my way at all. If you hear of citizens, constituents that are having problems, have them reach out to us. That's the number one thing. We're here to help people. We're not here to take property. That is not our goal. That is not our intent. Unfortunately, that is the process. But there are resources that are available. We work with people all the time up until the date of foreclosure. So just know that if people come to you, have a question or concern, we will work with them. We'll make an appointment to do and see if we can connect them with resources to help prevent the foreclosure from happening. Any other questions? Thank you.
Good morning. If you don't mind, I'll do the biannual report first. Is that okay? Okay. You have the biannual report in front of you, basically with just, what's going on in equalization and what changes we're making. A couple of things, I was just going to, a couple of updates that I have from the time of writing this. We did just receive information from the state. They've got a bulletin coming out today. The STC is meeting today. And it broadens the scope of the July Board of Review. The way that I read it, there was an executive order initially after the fact, but basically allowing that, the way I read it, is that if you were unable to complete your March Board of Review in a timely fashion because of the coronavirus, and some, did have some disruption, not in Jackson County, but in other locations, then you could open up July Board of Review. But the way that the state is interpreting it, and there's some legislation out right now to kind of codify this, for this year, July Board of Review, they really haven't given us a lot of guidance on exactly what they're looking for, but basically broadening the July Board of Review so that we can accept appeals as well. Normally, July Board of Review is just for corrections, but this year we will be accepting appeals to July Board of Review. So we do have to advertise that in the Open Meetings Act. They can also send in personal property exemption forms. We can still accept those in July. So this is all coming out today in the STC bulletins. So we're working that out right now with our townships. They're going to have to do some resolutions. We're going to have to do multiple days. And one of the things that they mentioned was to try to have some of your hours after 5 p.m. So we're going to have to get creative with our townships, but we'll get it done. So we'll just have to do some resolutions, and we'll probably be meeting all 5 days that week instead of one day. We do. Yeah, it's going to be tight. We're going to have to, like I said, we're going to have to get creative, but we'll manage it, yeah. And the other thing is, I put at the end of this another synopsis just to remind you of the assessing reform legislation and the fact that a designated assessor has to be chosen by the end of the year through the Board of Commissioners, along with a majority of the local supervisors in the county. This gives you some background on it. There's also quite a bit coming out in bulletins today. So I will, once those are voted on today by the STC, I'll forward them on to you because it gives you more information and some examples of that agreement will be coming out so that you guys have something kind of concrete to work with. But, you know, just as a reminder, we got 6 months to get it done. And CPI so far is 1.8%. So even though the cost of goods is going up, the cost of fuel has come down so much that the CPI is actually running less than last year at this point. We'll see what happens. Any questions at all on the biannual report? Okay. And so we can move on to Springport Township's request for services. We do have, I did have requests from 3 townships this year for proposals. I did meet with 1 township's budget committee last week, had a good discussion with them. We'll see, I don't know whether the others will decide to come on with the county or not. For right now, Springport Township would like to request assessing services, and we do have ample staff at this point in time to cover this contract. So that is my request. And you have a copy of the contract signed by the township. 5. This will be 5, yeah. And we have requests from 3 more. So by next year. One of them I know wants to come on next year, and 2 of them have requested this year. So.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good morning. So yes, April's financial statements, as we can see, we are, meeting our expenditure budget. We will start seeing the furloughs posting in May. So in May's financial statements, we will see those in our budgeted numbers, and in our benchmarks will be lower. That's the expectation. On page 2 shows the detail of the department's expenses. Were there any questions that anyone had on page 2 and page 3? Okay, so if we go ahead and go to page 4, you will notice that the 2 departments that we've been reporting on in the in our projections for shortfalls is the 12th District Court and the County Clerk. Usually the benchmark should have been right around 33.3%, and it's showing about 28 and 24%. But that's expected. The courts are closed, so that was an expectation, and that is what is showing. A lot of the other departments are grant funded, so it's not being affected by the closures, which is a good thing. So, were any questions on revenues for April? All right. So So our plan will be to start projecting what June's going to be, and then also update May's. And so you should have an updated projection of losses along, and also accounting for the furloughs, probably by this week sometime. On a monthly basis, it's really no different than, I mean, again, I need to take another look at it, but basically in April, we were looking at about $300,000 roughly, is my good guess. And then we also have school liaison in our police services, which is more, their loss is going to more show towards the end of the summer, because that's normally when Chris would have billed it, Chris Cool. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. And so, yeah, I'll have a better number for you this week, though. Furlough, I have that with me right now. At this time, we had furloughed wages was about $196,000. Now, that is also between animal shelter and the aging in parks. But for May, for general fund, it was about $136,000. Yes, definitely, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks, Cecilia, for keeping us filled in.
Sure.
I mean, we, we prepare a budget every year, and we have a good feel for how it goes, realizing that each budget is inaccurate as soon as you do it. But this year is especially volatile, or unknown, I should say unknown. We don't know what effect there may be on our revenues. Would we be looking at, maybe a forecast at this stage for the year 2020 and maybe its effect going forward? I'm sorry, I'm kind of betraying my lack of knowledge of how the budget process works here, but if it was a business, I'd be wanting to know, gee, my budget certainly is not going to be what I thought it would be. It's going to be substantially different, both on a revenue and an expense perspective.
Right.
Would we be looking at a forecast next month or the month after to see how 2020 is going to look?
Yeah.
And maybe what effect there might be on 2021? Because, we've done the furloughs. That number sounded a little low from what I thought we might try to yield from the furloughs. So I'm a little concerned that, what the long-term effect may be. I know you guys have it under control, but I feel a little, I'm concerned that from a long-term perspective, when I say long-term, I mean the next 6 months, the next year, a little concerned about what it's going to look like. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So, no problem. So what we're really waiting on is for the courts to open back up. We don't know when that's going to happen. Because as soon as the courts can open back up and they start having their revenues come in, we can definitely start forecasting where we're at. That's why we've been looking at it on a monthly basis based on, okay, what are we estimating is going to come in based on what was actual in January and February, what is our shortfall, and we're trying to keep up with it like that. But right now, it's just unknown when we're going to be open again.
If I may, a couple things. First, we still don't have state revenue sharing numbers in, right?
No, we don't.
That's a huge
For 21, that's huge,
question.
yes.
We believe it's going to be significantly less.
Yeah.
And therefore, we're definitely going to have to make some changes to our budget, not only this year, but next year.
Right.
So we do have some forecasting. We understand right now we're probably 1.6, realistically maybe $2 million in the hole for 21 that we're looking at. This year, current numbers, our best guess, we might be 200 down roughly.
Right, and we would need to add to what we've already had planned for fund balance, so maybe 1.3.
Yeah.
Because we had a planned fund balance already.
Yes, we did. So we will see very soon, actually, where it is, because we'll be having meetings to discuss. And then, of course, Tuesday night, I'm going to have ask for a closed session to discuss union contracts. They're all up this year. So I need to have some sense of where the board is on all that so that we can project those kind of numbers as well into the budget and make a determination of where we are. So there's a bunch of variables that are still, moving parts that we need to hammer out. And to some degree, we're waiting for some of that from the state. But just know this, we will have to make some very difficult decisions here in the next few months that will directly affect the lives of many of our employees. There's no way around it. The county, we don't sell widgets, we provide services, and that means people, employees.
Thanks, I appreciate the background on that and the uncertainty of what we think our revenues might be. I think, though, that the sooner we make some assumptions about what those revenues might be, even if they're conservative assumptions, the more time we have to determine what our response to that may be. And so, yeah, we don't know what revenue sharing is, for example, but if we assume it's going to be X rather than Y, at least we have a basis upon which to determine the scope of our response. And that's kind of where I'm coming from when I talk about forecasting, realizing there's far more unknowns than there are knowns in our revenue situation, but we're going to have to make some assumptions, and that will drive our planned response. And I guess I'm anxious over what those unknowns may be and the scope of them.
We are too. We share the anxiousness. I deal with it every day, trying to stay calm about it. So.
So it's safe to assume there's some sense of urgency on the adjustments we got to make. Every month that goes by, that's money we don't get back. Okay.
You're welcome.
We need, everybody make sure to pay the claims. I'll need a motion and support.
So moved.
Have a motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. Other minutes, I don't think we have any. Reporting schedule for July. There for your viewing, finance and IT next month. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, public comment. Any public comment? A committee member comment. Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, board.